This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics show, the news with the black point of view.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome to the People Before Politics show.
Yes. Black Westchester presents the People Before Politics radio show, where we give you real talk for the community. Black Westchester, black news, news with the black point of view since 2014.
Exactly. We still doing it. We still here. I ain't bring my water down. We still here, man. We still making it happen. And we're coming live on Facebook.
Simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Peace and blessings. Welcome to the People Before Politics show. Live every Sunday at 6 p.m. We are here. And tonight,
and every now and then we take a week off. Don't have no fear. We'll be back the next week. Sometimes you just need a break. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
But if you don't see us one week, come back the next week. We will be here. At least one of us. At least one of us, if not both of us, we will be here.
Exactly. So what's up, AJ? What's going on, man? What's the deal?
Yo, so real quick, I was seeing this thing. It was this interview with the Locks, and they had this segment. Sheik Luke, tell them why you mad. So I'm gonna do my little real talk from AJ Woodson moment real quick. So I got a message out there, and I want to make this message clear. Do not come up to me or Damon talking about what we said in Black Westchester, the paper or the website or the radio show, and you do not read the paper or the website, and you do not listen to the radio show. Do not tell me, oh, so-and-so is not going to come on the show because Damon said something, and you never heard him say that. Do not tell me Black Westchester is going after somebody and wrote something or tearing somebody down, and you don't even read what we write. Like, I have no problem. I don't expect everybody to agree with us on radio, on the website, on the paper. I expect everybody to have their own opinions, and everybody's entitled to that. But if you're going to come to me when I'm walking the streets of Mount Vernon or wherever and tell me some stuff about Black Westchester, give me the courtesy that you read what I wrote. And if you didn't, shut up. Don't come to me talking about, y'all blase blah. Where did you read that at? Somebody told you, and you just decided to run with it, and you just you're gonna continue running and tell that, but you can't tell me where you read it. It was never written nowhere. And then when I ask you, you're like, yo, you only talk about bad stuff. You don't have the good stuff. And when I bring up 4 or 5 good stories that we just ran, you'd be like, I say, did you read those? Oh, no, I don't read Black Westchester. So why are we talking? Real talk. I'm not trying to be funny. And I just had a conversation like days ago. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, this is for everybody. Do not come. You entitled to your opinion, but at least give me the courtesy that if you've read what we wrote or you heard what we said on the show and you are addressing it, you're not telling me what someone else told you or what you heard or whatever, because most of the time it's not true.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I'm saying I'm doing it like this because I really don't want to spaz on somebody in public, and at an event or something, because that's what happens. You know what I'm saying? So I want to address, I'm just putting it out there right now at the beginning of the show for everybody. If you don't read it, and don't tell me what me or Damon said. If Damon has opinions that are strong opinions, he puts his name on it, or he says it on the show. I have strong opinions, and I say stuff, but I put my name on it. Don't tell me something we said that you haven't read that we didn't say. If we said it, you can go to the link and find it. You can Google it. We're Googleable. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, word up. So anyway, enough of that. Just, real talk. I'm tired of it. Going on 11 years now, we still hearing the same stuff from the same people who tell me they don't read the paper or they don't read the website or I don't listen to the show.
Really?
Or Damon.
So what is the point of having the conversation and you don't listen and you don't listen to the show?
Because real talk. If someone tells me that Al Sharpton said something, or I'm just giving an example, I'm like, send me a link. Where'd you get that at? I'm not gonna run around and say, Al Sharpton. I heard Al Sharpton said this, or I heard Ken Jenkins said this, or I heard Sean Patterson Howard said this. Send me where they said it. Let me see it. Let me read it. Let me see the video. I'm not gonna repeat it because someone told me that. And if you come and if you bring it to me, I'm probably gonna ask you, where'd you get that from? So at least I can know what we're talking about. Because I can't have a conversation about something I've never seen or never heard, unlike a lot of other people.
Right. That's crazy.
So anyway, enough of that. That was the warning shot. After this, I'm calling names. After this, I'm calling names. Y'all do it. I'm going to spaz out on you.
That's what that is. It's a damn circus.
Right. But we're going to get into a conversation about health and wellness, and this probably deals with some of the mental health issues that we have in this going on in our community too. I'm sorry. I just got shout to and I want to say their name right. The blackhealth.org, the National Black Leadership Commission on Health. They just had a Zoom that somebody sent me a link. I jumped on for like 10 minutes before the show. I didn't get the brother's name, who's the head dude. I spoke a few things. Some of them might come and watch the show if anybody from that is watching now, because they went off at 6. Welcome. This is Black Westchester presents the People Before Politics radio show. But I want to build with them more on whatever it is that they're doing. And once I figure that out, then maybe we'll have them come on and we can have a conversation on Black health. And they were dealing with mental health today, so I caught the end of it. I caught like 10-15 minutes of it before the show. So, but shout to them, blackhealth.org. Yeah.
No, that's what's up, because that's what we're all about, man. Trying to. God bless Dr. James for his moral work in my life. I was diagnosed with herpes.
Whoa.
Okay. No.
I was taking medications, blah, 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 blah. Saw a comment about Dr. D.R. James.
No. No, that's spam.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's a real person, thank you for your comment. Shout out to Joe. Joe's a big supporter. Came and introduced himself one day, came by, brought a book. He saw me on another show, and he's a big supporter of that show, talking about my book, and he's local. He came, called me up, came by, brought a book, and he sometimes checks out the show and some of the stuff we do. So shout out to Joe P. And this is the link to the place, the site that I was talking about. Check that site out. Check them brothers out. They're doing good things. I'm going to be building with them more. But we gotta bring them on the show, man, because we have to really have these conversations, with even what's going on with HHS and Black health. We're gonna get into it. I wrote a couple articles, on. We'll get into that. So I think it's real important that we have this conversation. But coming up later today is a friend of the show, Marty Dolan, the path forward for the Democratic Party. He will be on later in the show, and I think Brenda Crump's coming on, right? Yeah. Brenda's coming to talk about a few things about some health and wellness and fair warning, Damon, for everybody. She putting on her Timbs right now. she got Brenda put on her Timbs. She about to air something out. So this is like she's coming.
Brenda Crump got on boots.
Yeah,
did you watch that? Mexicans got on boots?
Oh, nah, I still didn't see that.
You ain't watching
it. No. You gotta send me the link to that because you told me about it. I ain't see it.
Man, listen, I might have to play this, man. Mexicans got on boots, man. That's one of the dopest. We having fun for y'all. Sometimes we just bug out, but we got a guest coming up. But for right now, we just having fun, man.
Yeah, you gotta have fun in everything you do. You gotta enjoy it. You can't be serious all the time. You gotta
exactly.
You gotta laugh a little bit in life. Laughter's good for your mental health.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Shout to Joe. He said, "Tell him I have your 12-inch vinyl too." All right, appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. Oh, shout out to T Money and Stacks. They the T Money podcast joined.
We gotta change it. We gotta change it up a little bit. Hold on a second, AJ.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Y'all seeing this work in real time.
Yeah, it's like a computer screen that's on there. Thank you, Andrew.
Y'all seeing this work in real time, y'all. Okay. Hey, what's up, Andrew?
Yeah, Andrew's the one that invited me to the Black Health thing. Okay, Brenda's in the building when you're ready after this.
All right. Let's just have some fun, man. Hey,
right.
hey, Brenda, this is dedicated to you.
The boots.
This is Mexican Got on Boots. Big shout out to my man Sketching Sound. Hey, y'all check this animation out. We about to do it, baby. Ha! Mexican Got on Boots.
My story is about prison danger, seeing that I look so menacing, and I'm black, so it's going to be about crime. Go again. Let me tell you, prison is an odd place because you do not know the rules. No matter how many prison movies you watched and documentaries of locked up, you still don't know the rules of what's going to happen. So I'm on my way to what they call necessities. Necessities is, with your clothes, you get your laundry and all that. So I'm walking to necessities and a dude just walks by and say, Mexican got on boots. I'm like, what the does that mean? Because it's like, I've been in prison like the first day. What you mean Mexican got on boots? Everybody got on boots. So I thought. Dude walked past, Mexican got on boots. Mexican got on boots. So I tell somebody else, Mexican got on boots. Dude look down and say, Mexican do have on boots, and just take off running. I'm like, was I supposed to run? Because the Mexicans have on boots? So I asked the old dude, I said, hey, Mexican got on boots. He say, all right, they got on boots. I said, what that mean? He said, it's going to be a riot. I said, you pretty calm about a riot. I said, how you know Mexicans got on boots mean it's going to have a riot? He said, because Mexicans don't wear boots on the rec yard. I said, okay, what they wear on the rec yard? He say sneakers. They play handball all the time. And then you look and you see Mexicans over there playing handball, but they got on boots. So I'm like, still don't comprehend. So I get back to my cell. I say, hey, to my cellie, I say, you Mexican, what Mexican got on boots mean? He said, that mean we gonna ride. We're gonna stab a couple of black guys up.
What the fuck?
And I asked this when you in prison, you ask dumbass questions. I'm like, does the ride happen in here? Like in this cell? Because me and you just finished eating together. What you mad at me about? I don't know. But this is when you learn that you stick with your race in prison, no matter what, you stick with your race. I don't know why I can't have a Mexican friend. He's in my cell. I don't know what's going on. The Mexican got on boots, and I got to figure out what I'm supposed to do now. And I still don't know. I got to still ask people. Found a black dude. I'm like, yo, so what I do now, the Mexican got on boots. He said, you got to find you a knife. I say, I gotta find a knife. You can't have no knife in prison. He said, you just got here, huh? I said, yeah, I just got here. He said, man, look, you're gonna need to find a dude named CC and get you a knife. It's 3,000 people on this unit. How the fuck I'm supposed to find CC? I don't know. So I'm just walking around, Mexican got on boots, CC. Mexican got on boots, CC. Dude say, hey, you looking for CC? I say, yeah, you must need a knife. I say, yeah. He say, why you need a knife? I say, you ain't heard? He say, no, I ain't heard. I've been away work all day. Mexican got on boots. He take off running.
Why are you running?
I take off running after him only because he never told me what CC was. I catch him, he say, man, go on the rec yard. CC gonna be on the rec yard. And I'm like, I don't wanna go on the rec yard. I just left the rec yard. That's how I found out Mexican had on boots. So I'm sitting on the rec yard, looking around for somebody who may look like a dude named CC. So I'm asking, I'm looking, I'm waiting. I say, somebody gonna speak to CC. Got to. Dude walk, what up, CC? I say, that's what I'm looking for right there. I see CC, I nod, he nod back. I say, can I come over there? He say, come on, young blood. I get over there. I say, hey, CC, Mexican got on boots. He say, I heard. I say, I need a knife. He say, well, come to my cell in a couple of minutes. I'm gonna hook you up. I get to the cell. I say, CC, I need a knife. He said, what type of knife? I don't know, I just got here. He said, what type of knife you looking for? I say, something sharp, something to poke a motherfucker with, I don't know. So he put up a towel and say, hold on, let me show you some knives. Now it's 8 knives in front of me. It's like I'm at fucking Macy's. I'm like, yo. What kind of knife you want? I said, well, what kind of knife I need for a ride? I ain't never been to ride before. He said, well, you're gonna need something where you can stick multiple people and it break off. I say, is that right here on the thing? He say, no, these are personal knives. What you want your knife made out of? I say, there's too many choices, man. I just need a knife to protect myself. He said, well, goddamn it, listen to me, man. Do you want it made out of wood, plastic, metal, or what? I say, CC, listen to me. I don't know, because I've never been to ride before. What's going to protect me? He say, new ass motherfucker. Like, it's wrong to be just getting to prison. I don't want to be here from the beginning. So calling me new don't mean shit to me. So I said, so man, what would you suggest? He said, I suggest something personal, like a pin top. But would that sustain with a riot? He say, no, that ain't riot knives. That's just personal walk around. I say, I need a knife for the riot. Cause Mexican got on boots. I said, man, how much is a personal knife gonna cost me? 2 bags of coffee. Come back a little later on the day. I say, cool, CC. So I wait 3 or 4 hours, and I knew he was working on my knife because I was down the cell and I heard on the ground. I said, yeah, my knife gonna be sharp than a mother.
All right, y'all got to check out the rest.
Yeah, I was like, man, you gonna play the whole episode. We needed a little clip of that. I was like, yo, what's going on?
Yeah, y'all, everybody gonna have to check out the rest, man.
So our guest, our first guest of the day is Miss Brenda L. Crump.
Trying to bring it in, but what's going on?
Advocate, children advocate, student advocate. And she's always she's the mistress, Black Westchester mistress of information. A lot of times in the early days, me and Damon would be in the studio, we'd be talking about somebody, and they'd be like, yeah, it's a book, so-and-so got a book. And across the screen, the information would come up and we'd be reading it and sound like we know what we're talking about, like we always knew what the name of that book was. It was Brenda giving us the information. She was always feeding us the information. So she's been down with us since day one. Welcome to the show, Brenda L. Crump. The reason he played that, I said, yo, Brenda's on her way. She putting on her boots. And I told you about the boots. He said, oh, I got to play this Mexican got boots thing. So that's how that started.
Yeah, you should have told me. I'd have brought my Timbs to show, my boots.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have this part of the conversation. Brenda's vegan. Damon is, I think, vegan. Are you full vegan?
Plant-based.
Plant-based. And both of y'all have said the same thing to me several times. We went to an event recently, and there weren't a lot of plant-based options. I went to an event that was supposed to be a health and wellness thing, and
they had fried food.
They were selling fried chicken nuggets and stuff and stuff, and it was like there was no healthy options. There really wasn't healthy. And you know, when we talk about, for our Black leaders, our elected officials, our community leaders, our leaders of organizations, one of the biggest things we talk about in our community is the health disparities that our people have. And then they have these events, these galas, these events, and they don't have no healthy options at the events. So they're contributing to the issue. And for people that are plant-based and have given up meat or, you know, whatever, there's nothing for them to eat when they come to things. So that's what we wanted to kick off the show. And Brenda has been posting this all over social media for a while now. So I was like, yo, we could do a show on that. So welcome to the show, Brenda L. Crump.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
So the mic is yours.
Ready? Okay. All right. So I used to eat meat. Let's put that out there. And I'm not saying that meat does not taste good. I know that it's not good for my body. So if somebody's cooking some bacon still smells good to me. And it probably still tastes good if I ate some. So I'm not, coming down on anybody who eat meat. I'm saying eat your meat if that's what you want to do. That's your health, your choice, healthy lifestyle choice. But what I'm saying is that when we are having different events within our community, and this is a nice, polite request to our city, county, state elected officials, that when you're having different events, consider having healthier food option choices for people. And especially because our elected officials, they know the stats, I'm sure better than I do, in reference to the health issues in our community. We know when we had COVID that it was like, it hit Mount Vernon bad, it hit some other neighboring cities really bad. And the reason was why? Because of health issues in the Black and brown communities. So we're talking about high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, obesity. We're talking about heart issues, etc. And the list just goes on. And all of it traces back to our dietary intake. Yes, there are said to be some things that are hereditary. But if we change the trajectory of our lifestyle choices of what we eat and exercising and dealing with our mental, emotional, physical, social, spiritual health, that changes that direction for us, even if our loved ones have some of these diseases. So again, I'll go back to our elected officials know the stats better than us because they use the stats to get different monies for our communities and grants and funding for different programs and help and services. So they know the stats. So to whom much is given, much is required. You know the stats, then let's start making a change is what I'm saying, community. Let's start building healthier communities. And let's start with the events that's being held, the events that's being hosted throughout the community. Let's start. I'm not saying don't have any meats, don't have any animal byproducts, but what I am saying is let's start offering more healthy choices. And if I'm really candid, and I like to be candid, can I be candid? And nobody get offended?
Yeah.
Because it's all coming from love. Is that people are greedy. Okay, we're greedy. I'm a person. I'm in there. We're greedy. And you go somewhere and there is food. First thing we want to know is there food? And we want to know, is there free food? And then it's on from there. And so if you provide, and if the food tastes good, now we're not talking about some plant-based, whole food, vegan stuff that tastes nasty. But if the food tastes good, people are going to eat it. So if that's all you have, they're going to eat it. Damien, you remember when we went to, and I think it was Kenneth Chambers' screening of the movie for his father, and they had I think it was eggplant sandwiches or some kind of sandwiches.
They had the rolls, they had the wraps, the vegan wraps.
Okay, right. And then they had your traditional standard meat wraps. All the vegan wraps were gone, and everybody that was eating vegan wraps were not vegan. Then they left all the meat wraps. So when we go back to maybe get another wrap, there's no more vegan wraps. And it wasn't all vegan people eating the vegan wraps.
Well, you got to understand, in White Plains, it's a different crowd. You have a lot of white people that support Kenny, and they eat healthy. So it depends on the crowd that you're dealing with, you know, on what you're gonna have, you know. And I can say with that because I dealt with that crowd since the death of his father, and a lot of them are vegans. Yeah, and every event they serve the wraps. Like you can never salad wraps, and then they have the other stuff. But they always the group of people that help Kenny, they always have vegan food there because a lot of people that support him up in the White Plains area, in that area, they eat more healthy than.
But I think the point she was making though was that, and I know I heard this from you, like all the other food was still there and people was eating it, but people ate all the vegan stuff. Like they didn't have enough. There wasn't enough of just that.
Right. It wasn't. It wasn't.
So after that first sitting, anybody who was vegan wanted something to eat. They had nothing to eat. There was
if you came late, it's a wrap. You know, if you came late, it's a wrap. But I tell people, man, I wrote in my book, like you have to really do research on which restaurants that you go to, and what and who are you eating from. It's very important, and you know, it's not just your health but your spirituality, because people don't know who. If you don't know who's cooking your food, you don't know what spirits that they're putting in your food, and you're putting that stuff, you're digesting it in your system, whether it's vegan or whether it's regular food. Like we really got to be serious on you know, because this is the go out generation. They just hit all these damn restaurants and they wonder why they crazy, right? They wonder why they having mental breakdowns because you're putting other people's food in your system and you're not cooking at home. Like even when you cook at home, you're cooking at home, you with your loved one, you with your family, that enjoyment and love, that energy, that spirituality is going in the food. My mother used to always tell me, she said, you'll know when your wife is mad at you because your food will taste different. And that's from Mary Buffalo, right? Because of the spirit that goes into the food. So we have to be serious about it. Now, Brenda, you said something about the politicians. Politicians don't read reports. What she did say,
polls. No, but what she said, it's true. When they want to do for grants or whatever, they use these stats, even if they have somebody else bring the stats to them. That 80% of our community is this, 60% of our community has heart disease, has 60%, and they use this money. They use this to get grants or whatever to come to bring money to the city.
They don't pass legislation.
No,
they don't pass laws or legislation to make people healthy. There's two studies on a youth detention center and a correctional facility that they turned all their food plant-based, and fights and assaults dropped 60%.
Wow.
Because they wasn't putting that processed meat in their system, that bad food in their system. And then you sit here and I look at the food that they were serving the officers was horrible. I know what they were serving the inmates was crazy. But then they allowed them to spend commissary on bad food.
Junk food, and yeah.
Right. And then what they do? They're in there 6 months, and guess what happened? They got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and now they're medicating them. Like, this is the system that we have to, I think we have to really, 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 be more vocal about it with our local politicians.
Absolutely. And that's why, I was saying to AJ, I said, like, I said, I can't, man. I gotta post something because, and people know me by now, our elected officials, they give me the, all right, yeah, Brenda, we got, we're gonna have something, or we got salad, or we got fruit. Because it starts with us who know better to help others to learn better so that we all can do better. So
absolutely. Hold on, I'm bringing you in. Oh, there you go.
I'm asking, so is there going to be something plant-based, among the food options? Is there going to be food? And when we say vegan, sometimes people are afraid of the word vegan. Mm-hmm. But a baked potato is vegan. Do you not eat salads, garden salads, whatever type of salads, whatever type of lettuce you use, tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, peppers, mushrooms, whatever type of salad you make up, that's vegan. A sweet potato is vegan. All your fruits, apples, oranges, peaches, plums, pears, watermelon, strawberries, your berries or whatever, melons, that's vegan. And so when you say vegan, people are like, oh, I don't want any vegan food. And, it's just about when you get from the foundation, like the salads or the fruits. Every place can have some salad and fruit because that covers everyone. Some people say, we can't accommodate everybody's eating habits, everybody eating lifestyle. If you have salad, you've covered everyone. Because I don't know a pescatarian, vegan, vegetarian, fruitarian, or what have you, because they're the botanical fruits, cucumbers, tomatoes, and stuff that we call vegetables that are really fruits. So, and if you have a fruit platter, you have fruits or you have vegetables, you're covering everyone. Because no matter what your lifestyle is, your dietary intake, you're more than likely going to be eating fresh fruits and or fresh vegetables. And so you're covering everyone. You're covering everyone. So it starts with us to say to our elected officials and our different entities and organizations that are hosting events, it's up to us to ask those questions. Are there going to be? Are you going to have? You should have because of the stats in our community. Let's do this introduction. Let's start introducing healthier food options for our community. That's how we're going to bring about a change.
Absolutely. I wanted to say two things too, real quick. So Damon is famous for saying, we lose a lot of our loved ones from heart disease and all of these things and diabetes and stuff. And then when we go to bury them, at the repast, we served the people the food that killed the person we came there to celebrate.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I wanted to bring that up.
Exactly.
And two, I wanted to speak as a witness. So Brenda's husband, she's a widow now, her former husband and her mother both had a lot of health issues. She changed their diet to plant-based diet, and both of them had come off their medication, and all their numbers were good. So, and we had Eric Adams before told you when he changed his diet, go see that interview. He talked about they cleared up his eyes, and they talked about they was gonna have to cut his finger or his toe off or something or whatever.
His fingers, his toes, and he went blind in one. And he went blind in one eye because of the diabetes.
Changed to a total plant-based diet. And so Dr. Cedric said when he was on the show about the DNA thing and genetic, anything you can change is not genetic. I cannot change being black. You know, you can bleach your skin and stuff, but I'm gonna always be black. You know what I'm saying? I can't. That's genetic, but a lot of these things have to do with our diet, our intake, and stuff like that. So I just, I wanted to compliment Brenda. When you hear her speak, she's actually done this with two of her relatives, changed their diet totally, and got off the medication. So Brenda, want to speak to that? Then we're gonna introduce.
Thank you for that. That's the intro to my testimonies, because it's tried, tested, and proven, and it's not something that you just reading in a book, like one of my books I got here.
Who's
that author? I got a number of books, but it's tried, tested, and proven. So it's not something that you just read in a book or somebody else's story that you heard that's just so abstract. It's not real to you. No, it's real to me. Because my husband, in 2017, the doctors told him that he had to have open heart surgery. He pondered with it. He was like, nah, I'm not letting them crack open my chest, was his words, his language. And he was on high blood pressure medicine. He was on some heart medicine. He was on the Daily Bear aspirin. He was on high cholesterol medicine. And he said, you know what? And I don't want to live a life of medicines either. Now, this is not something I'm recommending that people do, but for him, he prayed, he fasted, and he stopped all his medications. He stopped eating meat, poultry, seafood. Yes, people, seafood is meat. Fish is meat. Shrimp is meat. He stopped eating all of that and all animal byproducts. January 1st of 2018, he stopped on the dime. Oof, that's what you call a real alpha dog right there. He's the man right there. He stopped on a dime. There was no weaning or nothing. He was really serious about this. And as I said, he prayed, he fasted, and he said, Lord, you said you never leave me nor forsake me. He says, I'm jumping. Not that I'm jumping. He jumped and said, Lord, I've already jumped. I need you to catch me, because he's already jumped. He stopped all of his medication that he had been taking for, I don't know, maybe like 10 years or something, double-digit years. January of 2018, he did that. Then about in March, we went to Texas to get a second opinion about him having open heart surgery. We went to a Dr. Baxter Montgomery, Heart and Wellness, and his slogan is Beyond the Script. Bottom line, he did not have to have the open heart surgery. We had already changed his diet before we went there. So to go through a part of Dr. Baxter's Montgomery program is this detoxification. We had already did that. We were ready to go. What's the next step? But in the short of it, my husband returned. We came back to New York, and his primary physician wanted him to get back on medications. So by this time, I started going with him to his doctor visits. Because before I wasn't, he's a grown man going to your own doctor visit. You don't need me. But now you need me because, my husband's kind of like, whatever the doctor. Well, hold on, wait a minute. He doesn't have high blood pressure. The blood pressure's not high. Why you want to give him back the medication? And he did say that he don't want to live a life of medication. So what can we do holistic? What can we do plant-based to replace the medication? So my husband took a bottle. And he wrote on the bottle garlic pills. So his bottle that he had, his high blood pressure pills, he now put garlic pills. He break open a clove, a bulb of garlic to the individual cloves, and he took one at least at a minimum of 1 daily raw he chewed up. Blood pressure down. A friend of ours come over to the house, blood pressure issues. My husband started, giving him his testimony, telling him about what he's done with the garlic. So the friend says, all right, I'm going to try that. Friend tries it, but stays on his medication and trying that. He goes to the doctor and his blood pressure is too low. So the doctor's like, wow, what are you doing? Your blood pressure is low because he's doing the garlic and he's doing the medication. So he told the doctor what he was doing. The doctor said, oh, stop that garlic stuff. Just continue to take your medication.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
He found a way to control the blood pressure. My mom, her testimony, my mother, same thing. She had high blood pressure, cholesterol, anemic. She has some stomach problems, taking medications. My mother has Lewy body dementia. And I went down to North Carolina to get her and bring her up here to live with me so that I can take care of her. Now, my mother was, she's from the South, and my mom could cook. My mom have like 3 meats in one meal setting. She have 3 meats. But I changed her diet. I transitioned her over. All that's gone. No more, not even anemic. She's not even anemic anymore. I changed over her diet. I'm telling you, people, is tried, tested, and proven. Now, I myself, I thank God, both hands go up, that I don't have any known medical problems that I'm aware of. However, I transitioned. I did it to support my husband in his journey. And then, I'm the cook, so I'm not, cooking 2 and 3 different meals. But I did it as prevention. So I don't have any of those health ailments. And I'm going to continue to improve upon what I'm doing. Because I always have this saying of a good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes better and your better becomes best. Don't ever settle for less. So I'm not at best in my diet. There's always room for improvement, and I'm going to be improving more to be more preventive. But I'm telling you, it's tried, tested, and proven. My mother went into the hospital maybe about a year ago, and she went in on no medications. When she came out, while she was in there, they was maybe giving her like maybe 10, 11, whatever medications. When she come out, I'm like, yo, we can't do this. We can't do the medications. So she come out with the blood pressure medication. So her doctor knows me. I'm like, okay, doc, I'm going to let you know we need to wean off this. I'm just not going to stop it. I'm just not going to do it myself. I know, Ms. Crumb. And then even the doctor admitted that although the medication helps, it also hurts. It's also creating other issues that you don't see now, but down the line, it's creating other issues.
Exactly.
So it helps us. And sometimes some people need medication at the moment, but it always should be weaning off, trying to do what we can do without the medication. So now my mom's off that. So she came out the hospital. She was still on the blood pressure medication. They gave her a blood pressure cuff where I took her blood pressure. It read in. The doctor was able to see it right away. And I said, so look, we're going to work on this. I said, because I don't want her on these medications. I know how to control her blood pressure. Remember, tried, tested, and proven.
Exactly.
I've been there, done that. So she's off. She's not on any medications. She's 76 years old. No medical problems that I'm aware of. So all the high blood pressure, the cholesterol, the anemic, the stomach problems, none of that stuff. It's tried, tested, and proven.
And we have to understand, medical doctors are medical doctors. They're not nutritionists. Not many doctors take actual nutrition classes in their medical in their medical field. So when you're having a discussion about nutrition and what to put in the body, they don't know. And it's unfortunate, but that should change. But we also know, big pharma's big pharma, right? And they're gonna pimp you. For some reason, my doctor is still talking about the COVID shot. I'm like, dude, if you ask me about this COVID shot again, I'm gonna go get another doctor. Please do not say that to me. After I told them from the beginning, I'm not doing it. But every time, I'm like, how many times do I gotta tell you no? Like we're grown men. So, but they push these medications.
Yeah.
We could deal with it naturally. Our bodies are so I mean, our bodies are so wonderful. And I don't even think modern science has caught up to the things that our bodies can do. But if we're not exercising, if we're not eating right, if we're not keeping our stress level down, everything our body is designed to do, it breaks it down.
Proper rest.
It breaks it down. So we have to exactly, and proper sleep. Sleep is important. Sleep is important. People are running around chasing money, and they're going straight to the graveyard. Straight to the graveyard. Trying to get the bag, trying to be boss chicks and boss dudes, and they're going straight to the graveyard. Ain't no need to get a BBL and all that stuff, and you got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. You just wasted 20 grand.
Spend that 20 grand on eating healthier, because on that note, with the blood pressure cuff, it started out free. They gave us the blood pressure cuff for my mom, and I take her blood pressure, and it go into the office. If it's too low, I get my phone ring. They're calling me. If it's too high, my phone is ringing. So eventually I started seeing like a charge for this, $35 a month. So I'm like, wait a minute, what is this $35 for? I call in trying to find out what it's for. Come to find out, it's to monitor the blood pressure. I'm monitoring it.
First
of all, we had a cuff anyway. I had one just like theirs. It just didn't register into the office. And I was checking the blood pressure anyway. We got a nice cuff, a little bit better than theirs because it keeps the record and everything for me. But theirs registered right into the office. Mine was not. But I said, wait a minute. We can't do this. I said, because the $35 I'm spending on a month for you to monitor does not cure if she does get high blood pressure, if it goes up. And I can spend that $35 on berries, on the leafy green vegetables, on the garlic, on the ginger, etc., the things that I was giving my mom that brought down the blood pressure. That's $35 I can be spending on that.
Right. I think everybody who has those type of issues, especially high blood pressure, heart issues and stuff like that, the best thing to get is an Apple Watch. The Apple Watch saved one of my friend's lives. Saved his life because it was telling him his blood pressure was too low. And he kept resetting it because he thought something was wrong. And then after 4 times resetting it, and it kept telling them that, he ended up going to the clinic and they rushed him to the hospital. So I think
smartwatches, not even just Apple Watch.
Right, not just an Apple Watch, but any smartwatch, you could download programs that can monitor your vitals. I got a ring that monitors my heartbeat. And this is, I mean, right now with technology, we have it. We have it in our hand to be healthier, and we understand that, it's the food is what makes us healthy, and your kitchen is your medicine cabinet. So the kitchen will kill you, or it will heal you or kill you.
And you know what? I want to say, because the other argument is, well, my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents ate this food and they didn't have some of these issues. You know what? The food now has more chemicals, has more...
It's different.
All kinds of stuff. The stuff your great grandparents was eating was a lot more purer and fresher and healthy than what we eat. Like this stuff, they put all the stuff in the chemical, all the stuff in the food to make it last.
Air quality, everything is different.
Yeah. So but they were eating, and a lot of them lived on farms and stuff, and they was eating fresher food anyway, straight out the ground. Like, what I'm saying? So I want to introduce our guests. I want to give our guests Marty a chance to chime in on this situation. Tell everybody who you are, and if you have anything to add to the conversation we're having right now.
Well, talking about you guys were talking about rap.
Oh yes, we were talking about rap. Yes,
you were talking about, were those sandwich raps, or do you want me to rap?
Both. Hey, hit a beat.
And the reason I say is because I have actually studied the history of rap.
All right.
I am the proud owner of We Got Our Own Thing, written by, I would call him a political friend, Mr. AJ Woodson.
Thank you very much.
So I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I would take the the analogy that you're making. I don't know whether I call you Dr. Crumb or Brenda, but what I would say is what I take away from it is, like, when you look at a person, you can kind of see like it all goes together. Their maybe spirituality, their diet, kind of their environment, everything. And I think if I could just say, you could look at New York City and say the same thing.
Exactly.
Where we all know there's something that's just not right. And it's more than one thing that's making it not right. And that's really one of the reasons why I got into politics, because I think that, I'm not saying I've got my finger on it, but I'm going to propose some pretty different ideas. Like, when you look at somebody who's overweight or they're not healthy, you wouldn't think about they got to be vegetarian or they got but these things all come together. And so I think, Brenda, you're onto something, which is we definitely got to get healthier food. We got to get everybody exercising more, and we got to get New York City on a better diet than they are right now, because the diet that New York City's on is bad. And I can go into that a little more, or I can, whatever you want to do.
But, hey, man, we could talk whatever you want to talk about, man. But I thought Eric was trying to put the plant-based meals, and he got pushback.
Right. The first two things he got pushed back on was riding his bike instead of taking the thing, because the cops had to also ride bikes with him. Like, and the second one was introducing more plant-based stuff in the schools and stuff, and having more plant-based options. And those are the first two things those are the first two things he got major pushback when he first got in office.
Well, when I look at the history of what they've done in the schools, and it goes back to rap, because rap came from when they took all the musical instruments out of the schools. We're just gonna play with what we have. So I would say, we're gonna have a lot to talk about when you talk about things that you could change in New York. Mm-hmm. But you got to have the food back in the schools, because in a lot of schools, the kids are not getting fed well at home. And, you have to accept that reality. And then you got to add back the after school programs, if you go the other day, I was at a place in Astoria houses called the Cornerstone Community Center. And this is for kids who at, 3 o'clock or 3:30, if they go home, it's not good. There's nothing at home for them. There's no adult there, or the adult there doesn't have kind of their eye on what's the right thing for the future for the kid. These centers are great. They go in there, the kids come in the directions. He looks at the kids in the eyes. He's like, "How was your day? Right. What did you learn at school? Get over here, look me in the eye, say hello to Mr. Dolan, because I happen to be there." And, that's AJ knows I'm originally from Westchester, and there's such a huge difference between what I would call the basic social structure of Westchester, where it's good. It's not good everywhere, but it's good compared to the Bronx or compared to Queens, where, you kind of have this thing where things that we take for granted, people in Westchester would take for granted, they're unimaginable. They're unimaginable. You don't have a home. You don't have knowledgeable parents. You don't have a teacher. If you're a kid in New York, you are really at risk right from the get-go. And so that's something that's profoundly difficult to fix. And just like what Brenda's saying, it's if you want to look at the diet of New York City, it's terrible. But, good luck trying to fix it. You got to really get the information out, and you got to be patient. So I think that's what you're trying to do, Brenda. I really support it. And then, it's very similar to what I'm trying to do to New York City, which is a very tall task.
So Marty, man, like how can? Well, I don't know on the New York City politics level, right? But I know on federal, you got all these people taking money from Big Pharma. You know, they're taking money from all these different, all these different health companies, which make money off us being sick. So how can we trust these politicians who get millions of dollars from these corporations that profit on us being sick? That they're really going to they're really going to look out for our best interest in health. Because I was watching the whole thing with go ahead.
It's a really big issue. And I'm going to start by just, introduce myself a little bit to the audience. I ran against Congressman Bowman briefly before County Executive Latimer came in. And then I transitioned to run against AOC. And now I'm running for public advocate in
really?
New York
I
City.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm running for public advocate in New York City.
Oh, okay.
And people say, like, do you hate the socialists? Okay, don't hate the socialists, but what I've seen happen is that the people in the Democratic Party have lost they don't connect their righteousness. They have righteousness, which is good. I thought Representative Bowman, was a righteous man. Like he is full of belief. He
Right.
believes what he believes. But then he's talking about Israel, and you're like, what about the people in Co-op City? Like, what about the locals? And
Right.
the thing with the Democrats is by taking their, some of the causes that they've supported, they've missed some obvious causes. I think campaign, and I've said this, like, I'm not a fan of Bernie Sanders. I'm not a fan of AOC, but they're right about campaign finance reform.
Right.
Absolutely.
And by the way, it isn't like if you look at the race in the 16th congressional district, which was the most expensive, congressional race ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it would have been different without the money, but you had $35 million spent for, there wasn't much learned by, Latimer and Bowman, starting with Dolan, but that's terrible. AOC spent $8 million to defeat a nobody, and she got 20,000 votes. $8 million would go a long way in the Bronx and Queens in that district.
Right.
That would be like, money from heaven. So I think that let's go all the way back to Alexander Hamilton and James Madison and the founding fathers and all that. They had never had the idea that there would be pharmaceutical companies investing billions of dollars into corrupting Congress. Now you could say that there was corruption then of a different sort, which is that they were a bunch of white guys and some of them were slave owners, and so there was a different type of corruption. But I think that you really need to look hard at campaign finance reform, and I think Senator Sanders is right about that. I think you're right about that. I don't think it's only the congressional lobbying. I think it's also the races. Now, if you go to, I lived in England. You go to England, I don't think you can spend, 50,000 pounds to get elected to the House of Commons. I think the limit is so small that the only way you can spend the money is to go out and talk to the people. Well, that's I'm okay with that. And I think that I also lived in Washington. I wasn't working for the government. I was very briefly interning in the public defender's office. I was trying to think I was going to be a lawyer, but you go through Washington and that whole corridor, K Street, is filled with lobbyists. Mm-hmm. So I think if you don't have trust in the government, if you don't basically trust the government, which we'll get onto Trump and what they're trying to do and everything like that. Mm-hmm. If you don't have trust in the government, you're just going to have a problem. And I think that's where we are now. And I'm not an expert on the Black community or the Chinese community or the Jewish community, but you do get this sense that people just don't trust the government because there's so much money going in there.
There was such a breakdown, lack of trust and a breakdown of being in touch with what the actual community, the communities they serve needed, and that's what we saw in the last election. This was the response in the last election. A lot of people have been told the same thing over and over and over, and they decided to go a different way at this point. You know what I'm saying? Because people weren't in touch. Again, we still have the same health issues, which is what we still talking about. Our kids are still eating the same thing. They're getting subpar educations. Your taxes are too high. Your potholes is killing your car.
Right.
I remember Damon talking about having to do a lineman twice in 1 year in his car because the Mount Vernon streets just beat up his car and he had to get.
Where does he live, AJ?
He got it done in the early part of the year and had to get it done again in the same year for the same car because it got the potholes was that bad.
Those white guys fill up their swimming pools in March, and the guys in the Bronx got to go get their front end. Put back together.
And see you, and that's why I say we need to be more as people. We need to get more into our local politics because it's hard to change things on a federal level. Just starting straight up, you can do more change in your local elections. Your in cities like Yonkers, the school district is under the city, so your mayor is very instrumental in how your school runs. You know what I'm saying? And then in city like Mount Vernon, so they have the school district separate. Your school board is very important because they appoint your superintendent and how your school is run and the foods your kid are eating and all those things and how they're being educated. That's your school board. You know what I'm saying? And our city council does the legislation and stuff that can do local legislation of putting a cap on Chinese food stores and fast food stores in your community or whatever and stuff like that. That's your city council. You have to participate in these meetings. They go to council meetings, the school board meetings. We complain about stuff, but we don't get active. And we complain on what Trump is doing or what's happening in Washington. And we're not paying attention to what's going on in our backyard, in our school.
Yeah, so let me react to that. So again, I haven't won anything yet, but I've had it's pretty. I'm almost like a political explorer because I've seen what I would call the wealthier part of Westchester. I've seen the part that's not so wealthy. I've been in all through the Bronx, all through Queens, Manhattan. Like I've seen the whole continuum. And I would say the one thing that you see, just to give you an example, we're going through petitioning season now. So we're trying to get on the ballot now.
Right.
So, if you can, and I've got to get, like 10 or 12,000 signatures to make sure I get enough, signatures so I can survive the challenges. So if you go through Queens, you go through the Bronx, whatever, and you get to Manhattan. In Manhattan, the Democratic clubs are they're so well organized. There's the Lexington Avenue Dems, there's the Chelsea Reform Dems, there's the West Side Dems, there's the Grand Street Dems, and they come out on Tuesday night to these meetings that you're like, who would want to go to these meetings? But they go and they care. And then what they do is they petition for candidates and their endorsements mean something. So if you get endorsed by, the Chelsea Reform Democrats, you get 30 people who are out petitioning for you. There's nothing like that in the Bronx. There's literally nothing. You think Co-op City, why don't they have a Co-op City Democratic club? Maybe they do, but there's nothing like it in Queens. They're literally, it's so simple of a thing to do. Now, then you get to Westchester, in Dobbs Ferry, they have that. And in Scarsdale, they have that. And so that's the way you create political.
And in Mount Vernon, you have it in Fleetwood. You have the Fleetwood, you have the homeowner, the association, the Fleetwood Citizen Society. You have the groups like that in Fleetwood. We don't have enough on the South Side, in our communities. We don't have this.
Yeah. So the Indivisible guys, New York Indivisible and whatever, they're trying to create that, and full credit to them. I give a lot of credit to what I call the the progressives, I call them, some of them the radicals, but the progressives, whatever you call them, they're trying to put that together. And to their credit, they'll probably have in New York City, they're going to punch above their weight. In other words, I don't think that New York is as progressive as the primary vote shows, but they turn out, like they do the work, and they know the system. And so my message like, if you want to have a healthy political power, just get organized, get to the meetings, and then you only get in politics what you can take, and you take it with political power. And the people in the Bronx and in Queens are much less able to do that than it seems like they do in Manhattan. In Manhattan, there's more money, there's more free time. I mean, I don't know. There's
Well, you have a different mindset. You have a different mindset in the boroughs. Like the Bronx is probably just disorganized, but Manhattan and Brooklyn, you have a whole different mindset, especially in the Black community, as how they deal with politics. Westchester, we still trying to figure out how do we put it together.
We have city committees where they have neighborhood committees,
right?
And see a city committee made up of people all through the city might not have the best interest in my community.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we need more of the the community. Other groups have this. They have their community committees. You know what I'm saying? They have their community groups.
Yeah, AJ, I remember in the race, the Bowman-Latimer race, I remember they were rolling through that. They had the Greenberg Democrats, they endorsed George, and they kind of go through it, and you're like, hey, look, that's a good system, because that's the people speaking. They don't have that, like they don't have it in
but that's
the city committees though.
Yeah, the city committees
don't speak for the community. Like if you get enough district leaders in charge, you know what I'm saying? Like enough district leaders that vote a certain way or support a certain candidate, you can get a candidate in there as the endorsed candidate. But that might not be what's best for my community. Like I said, in Mount Vernon, you have a couple of committees and groups like that in Fleetwood. On that side of town, you got the homeowners association, you got the Fleetwood Citizen Society, you got Fleetwood Neighborhood Association, you got and then the other groups like that. I can't remember all of them. You don't have that. So what you said about Greenberg, that was for the village of Greenberg, but Fairview is not represented. They don't have the best interest in Fairview. You know what I'm saying? Like Fairview, their own group. So it's still, even though these city and town committees don't speak for all the communities in that city. And until our community gets on that track to get involved, because these same people, they don't just get involved in the congressional race and the mayor race. They get involved in the school board race. They get involved in the library trustee race. They get involved in
full credit to the progressives. They turn up on Tuesday night and they sit there and they think about it, and they have more energy. Like one of them has more energy than two or three people. And if you don't have that in your community, whatever, the one community where it is pretty strong is Harlem. I think Harlem actually has. They have some pretty energetic.
Yes.
There's like a substance there. Like you can figure out who to go to kind of say, how do I talk to the people? But in a large parts of the Bronx and Queens, you go to these meetings and there's 20 people,
Before we go like fully and get all into politics, I wanted to extend an invitation to Brenda. If she doesn't want it, she can stay on the show the rest of the show. But if not, if she wanted to address anything else with the health aspect and then cut out, or you can just stay and be involved in the whole show. That's up to you. But you can, we switch gears, and I wanted to give you that opportunity and not get lost in it.
Well, okay. Thank you. Well, I'll just reiterate, and this is a plea, a request to our elected officials within the city of Mount Vernon and the county, the state that represents Mount Vernon. When you're having in any city, not just Mount Vernon, we're talking Westchester County and state, that when you are having events, please add healthier food option choice for the people. And I want to say this is another thing that's very important, especially when you're offering events where people have to pay. Because you buy a ticket, and in the price of the ticket is the cost of the food. The food is a part of that makeup of the ticket. And then a person get there and there's nothing for them to eat, but they've purchased a ticket.
150, 250,000
is included. You know, right. I attended a very nice event, very lovely event. However, when it came to the time to eat, I mean, when I say absolutely nothing to eat, there was absolutely nothing to eat. All the meats, so I'm not doing meats. The vegetables, some of them did not have meats, but they added butter, cheese, other animal byproducts.
And salt, and a whole bunch of salt.
The salad said, okay, well, there's salad. I go over to the salad, and there's what kind of cheese is it?
Parmesan cheese.
Parmesan cheese, maybe. And not even if you are a cheese eater, you might not eat Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese sprinkled throughout the whole salad. So that just messed up the whole salad for me. So there was really literally nothing for me to eat. However, I purchased the ticket, and within that ticket is the cost of the food. So I'm asking people who are hosting events, sponsoring events, please consider that. Please do more than consider. Start adding healthy options. Let's build healthier communities.
Especially those galleries.
Word alone, but in action. Let's put some action.
Was this at a restaurant or was it at a hall?
A church, a black church.
Oh, so the food was already cooked.
It was catered and brought. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, see, then but I mean, we have to start. Yeah, that's just being mindful. Not everybody eats that.
And again, it's about building healthy communities, about people who are sponsoring, hosting events, to start thinking about the community they're in, start thinking about health and wealth.
And that's why I brought this up, because while Brenda's having this conversation as we're coming from the event, I had these same conversations with Damon as he's come. You paid $150 or $200 for a ticket, and you can't eat nothing there, and then you got to go to somewhere to get something to eat after leaving there because you're hungry because there was nothing for you to eat, and you just spent $150, $200 there.
Well, usually if it's at a catering hall, you could tell the waiter to bring you out a vegan option.
But here's the thing: you shouldn't have to tell the waiter that. The people who are sponsoring and hosting should be offering more healthier options, because sometimes people say, "Okay, we're gonna have a vegetarian." Take a little time to learn the difference. A vegetarian,
if it's pre-catered, but if it's at a catering hall, you just tell the waiter that you want a vegan option, and the cook will make it for you.
Absolutely, I've done it. But what I'm saying is that people who are sponsoring, hosting events,
they don't
start
care.
Thinking with a healthier mind, because not only for the people you're inviting, but for yourself, a healthier option. And I had started to say about people saying, "Oh, okay, well, we're going to have a vegetarian option." That still would not be a whole food plant-based option, because there's vegetarians eat animal byproducts, eggs, milk, butter, cheese, that kind of stuff. They just don't eat meat. So a vegetarian option would not fit for a person who has a whole food plant-based vegan diet. I'm just saying, let's be more conscious about our choices that we're making to put forth to people, providing option. And most importantly, let's start to move on building healthier communities, healthier people, healthier children. Our children got obesity at 10 and 11 years old, heart problems, diabetes, cholesterol at 10 and 11 and younger. It's the food we're eating, people. It's killing us.
And Damon, the point you made, we went to a gala and Brenda went with me, and she did tell the waiter, and
they did.
It never came out. She never got the food. So she never ate. Like, she kept saying, "Well, where's the food?" Like, she went through the whole thing with the waiter, and the waiter went to the chef, and at first they said they couldn't make whatever for her, and then she went back again. Eventually, she didn't eat that night. She didn't eat at the event, and she did do just what you said. and this was at one of the country clubs in New Rochelle. You know,
right. I remember that. You're right.
They cook the food right there. So sometimes that don't even work, Damon, because I've actually seen an example where that didn't work.
Sometimes they're not chefs, they're cooks. They're not chefs. There's a difference between a cook and a chef. A chef can chef up. A chef can put together some stuff. A cook is kind of
they supposed to, in situations like that, they supposed, even if they make you a salad, right? They're supposed to offer you something as an alternative. Now, if it's pre-cooked, you know, if they're back in the kitchen cooking, and the waiters are coming out, they're supposed to already have an alternative for people that for whoever got allergies, whoever got this, whoever got that. You know, usually it's on the sheet when they give you the choices of foods. But if they can't do that, then I mean, bring out a salad. You know, if you can't, you know, if you back in the kitchen, you got a chef hat on, you can't chop up a salad, bro. Then you shouldn't be at that venue. Like, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, you shouldn't be at that venue. We
need you in New York City.
You know what? But you know what, David? It's crazy because they sometimes I lost my thought, but it what you're saying is true. But it's just like, it's just crazy. Like, what I was gonna say, the organization throwing the event. So as the vice president of Mount Vernon NAACP, the first gala we had at Green Tree. With the executive committee, we went through all the menu options and we voted on what was going to be served, what the menu options was going to be. So that's why I say the organizations, the leaders of the organizations, when they have these functions, that's part of throwing the function. Picking the food, selecting the food that is going to be served. You have the power because you're having this big function. You're spending the thousands and thousands of dollars to have it there, to have it at the event. You can ask for those options, and we need our leaders that have these functions. They have these annual galas, and all the elected officials have these fundraisers, the big top dollar fundraisers that they want you to come to. When they book the place, they have the option of asking what food options they want. So we need our leaders and the heads of these organizations to do that as well. And I think that's one of the things Brenda was saying But if you're not staying with us, Brenda, any last words? If you are staying, then you can stay. I'm not kicking you off. I just want to know.
No, I'm good. I'm gonna go off. I might probably hang around and post up some things, some meeting dates and stuff within the city. You're talking politics. Before I leave, I will say we do need to be more involved in our local politics. We have more control in our local politics than we do at the even state and federal level. We have more within our local city, towns, and villages, and we do need to get involved. So I'll just be posting up some stuff in regards to Mount Vernon, the local things.
And before you leave, while we're talking about food options in our cafeterias and our schools, we have an important school board election coming up. School board trustee election. Those are the people that make some of those decisions. So when these people are coming around asking you for your signatures and stuff, because they need your signatures to get on a ballot, then they need your votes to get into the position. That's when you need to be questioning them. You know what I'm saying, on what their thoughts of these things are before you just arbitrarily sign their thing because they put a piece of paper in front of you, or before you go in and vote for them. You know what I'm saying? That's your time to ask these questions. And we have an important school board election coming up very soon.
Tuesday, May 20th is school board trustee and budget vote for all the local towns and cities and village within. I think it's just like the state of New York is all the same. Okay. Tuesday, May 20th is school board budget vote. And yes, right here in Mount Vernon, we're going through some issues now with the food service company that we have in the school and the quality of food that's being given to the children. We're not even talking about plant-based and nothing like that. We're just talking about the quality of the food that's given, the options. So yeah, it's very important to be involved and engaged in these meetings and these elections. So yes, we do have Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 is school board trustee election and budget vote. People are asking for signatures. Think about what AJ said. All right, I'm signing out. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your. You're always welcome. You're always welcome to come on and air it out. And just whenever you want to hit a topic or so. So we thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, I'm out.
All right. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in. Anybody who's watching this for the first time, a few people that I've never seen before. You're watching Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show.
All right. Take me out of here. I don't know how to get out of here.
I got you.
Yeah, you're watching Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics.
We lost Marty.
Yeah,
how you still here?
You took her out and put Marty. Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
You're watching Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. We're on every Sunday, 6 to 8, simulcasting live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram, and anywhere else they allow us to simulcast at the time, because they keep adding platforms. But we've been giving you the real talk for the community since 2014. And always check out the website, blackwestchester.com. Thank you to all that are tuning in for the first time. I'm seeing a bunch of names pop up. I'm not going to read everybody's name because I found out everybody don't always want their name read, that they just want to watch. So thank you for all of y'all that are tuning in. Spread the word. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you like and you share so that we can continue to grow.
So Marty, man, Brenda touched on something, and we could go a little further, like the importance of local politics now, because the Trump administration is giving so much power back to the state. So we have to be very, very, very adamant about coming out to vote now, because of those policies that we want change is going to be at the state level. And they can't. And the thing is, the state elected officials can't push it off on the federal government anymore. It's up to them to do their job. But what do you think about that?
So it's a long conversation, and I'll launch in. We're having our nice little conversation, which is, I think the Republican ethos, on this particular point goes back to 2017. And, I think what happens is people look at the red hats and MAGA and, some of the stuff that they talk about, and they miss the fact that there's what you just said. I'm going to frame it as what I would call serious economic and political policy, which is when the Republicans, the Treasury Secretary was then Steve Mnuchin, who was a former Goldman Sachs guy, really, good thinker. They came up with the state and local tax deduction, or SALT,
right,
in 2017, and they just no preamble, no foreplay, just like, we're putting this in, and they changed a tax policy that had been around since Abraham Lincoln, just like that, and the purpose of the policy was that they're basically saying, we don't want the citizens of the red states, the farm states, whatever you want to call them, we don't want their taxes to go to New York City, New York State, because what state and local tax deduction did was, let's say you were paying New York City taxes, New York State taxes, then the federal government could only tax you on your after-tax income.
Right.
It couldn't tax you on your gross income. And they said, no, the federal government has a right to all the money that you earn. So in New York State, in Illinois, in California, basically the taxes went up.
Oh, right.
Okay. And the reason that the Republicans believed in that, because they said that we have to reveal that what's happening in the blue states, especially New York, Illinois, California, is the governments are just running, their budgets are just running away. They're just completely out of control. And I'm going to give you I'll make a quiz, but I'll give you the answer, which is, what do you think the budget of New York City is right now?
It's in the billions.
The answer is, it's $120 billion.
Yep.
And what do you think the budget is for Phoenix, Arizona? And the answer is, it's $3.5 billion.
Wow.
New York City spends 40 times what Phoenix spends. And then you say, well, Phoenix is down in Arizona, so let's look at Philadelphia. The Philadelphia budget is $3.5 billion.
Right.
New York City spends 35 times. Now, New York
Right.
City is bigger, it's more complex, but basically what it comes down to is New York City is spending about 2 to 4 times what other cities are spending per person. You got to average it out
Right.
per person. And so the Republicans are targeting that. They're basically trying to isolate the budget of the state and the city and say, look, guys, this is what you're doing to yourselves. And by, we're going to start to cut back our money. They're not trying to cut back the money because they hate the people. They don't hate the people. They're like saying, you don't understand how much you're so far out of whack. So again, just to, make another point out of it, New York City spent $7 billion on illegal immigrants. That's
Right.
twice the budget for the entire city of Phoenix.
You want to hear something? Another fun fact.
Like,
in 2023, the city resolved 1.45 billion on lawsuits for like discriminations and all that stuff, and that actually was 110 million less than the 1.56 they spent in 2022.
They're congratulating themselves for spending only
1.45, but 1.45 billion. When you were talking about what the budget is in smaller cities, they spent 1.45 billion in 2023, and lawsuits that were resolved just in the city. Like that's crazy. That's just lawsuits. Like that's crazy.
Right. And so that gets back to, again, like I'll come back to Representative Bowman. My kind of thing against the socialists is like, of course we care about the Palestinians. Of course we care about these immigrants that are wandering, coming. Of course we care about criminal reform. But you've let the government just explode with money, and it's not like things are better. So then you say, well, okay, like let me get into the Bronx, and the school systems in the Bronx it's not doing a good job. I don't want to say the teachers aren't doing a good job. They're trying, but like the whole, there's something wrong. It's like way wrong, and more has not made it better. So I give the Republicans more credit, I think, than most New Yorkers do, by saying they're trying to make a point. And the point they're making is less is probably better than more, because they're going to put that money, it hasn't worked by spending more money on it. You have a very expensive city. You have even Yonkers has an income tax. When they told me that Yonkers had an income tax, I couldn't believe it. I was like, if Beverly Hills had an income tax, I would. You're in Yonkers, which is not a wealthy city. It's like it's.
And that was supposed to be temporary. That was supposed to be temporary. That income tax, it was something that happened, and the people voted to do the income tax. It was supposed to be a temporary solution for a problem, and then it just is just now it's the norm. So I'm not all complaining. I do have some proposals, some ideas that we can talk about. But I think the central thing when you say things are going to come back more to the states, I think that's true. But there will be many fewer resources. It's not like, we're going to get back to the states and things are going to be the same. Things are coming back to the states, but the resource level is going to come down significantly, because if you take New York City, 120 billion, and New York State, which is 230 billion, you have $350 billion, but the federal government provides $120 billion of that. And they're going to cut that out. They're going to cut it out. They're going to say and they have to cut it out because we have a $1 trillion annual deficit at the federal level. So this, Musk and the guys are going to go and say, listen, like if you want to cut out hundreds of billions of dollars, just cut back to the blue states. They're not doing a good job with it. Even if they were, what's the benefit? Like, how are we better off? Because things are worse off. And let's see if maybe if we go through a period of, it's like cutting down the forest and letting some new ideas grow. Like let's go there. So I think that where we're at is a real turning point in terms of what I would call, we've had this idea since Franklin Roosevelt, which is let's get, take care of the people. We can give them programs, Lyndon Johnson, and a lot of great stuff through there. But I think that ideology is really at a breaking point.
and the idea that you're just going to always get more from the government, there isn't any more.
Let me play devil's advocate for the other
Sure.
side. That feels like, so in the more marginalized communities, when now you said less money coming from the federal government, so there'll be less money that the state has. So when they make cuts, the cuts are going to come from possibly needed services in the more marginalized communities. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not going to take, that's who needs like more. They need more help because they're marginalized communities.
I agree with you, and that's why I criticize the radicals. I give them a lot of credit. They built up a lot of political power. They're full of energy, but what are they doing to defend those communities? They're defending the people of Palestine. They're defending, criminals, and they're defending illegal aliens. And you're like, what about the people in your district? So I think this is going to be very difficult. I think there are going to be real cuts. And I think that unfortunately, the radical left of the Democratic Party has kind of played themselves out of the picture because they've stood for causes that aren't, I'll give you an example. Prison reform. You have Robert Brooks. Robert Brooks was murdered upstate New York. They were taking him from one jail to another jail. He was handcuffed and they killed him.
Right.
I went up to Albany and Robert Brooks, say his name. Robert Brooks, say his name. There wasn't a single politician from New York at the protest.
No, there never is.
This is like in your state. You don't have to worry about Gaza. You don't have to worry about the Mexican border.
There never is.
Killing Black people in the prisons.
Exactly.
You don't do anything about it.
Well, AJ would tell you, I've been saying this for the longest. We could count on 2 fingers how many politicians show up to a police brutality incident, right? To actually for them to come out. You have Kenneth Chamberlain's father, where the police is on audio calling him the N-word. And we couldn't get Democrats, we couldn't get nobody to come out. But if a swastika was written on a dumpster, it's standing room only. Yes, I understand.
I agree with you. Yep.
But you have to stand up for us too, because this is insane. And then when you deal, and I just wrote a piece, and then when you deal with police brutality, you're dealing with Black mayors. You're dealing with Black mayors.
Wait a second. You're dealing with a Black mayor who was a cop.
Exactly.
And not only was he a cop,
exactly.
He has had 6 different police commissioners. You're like,
exactly.
If he had fucked up the schools, you'd be like, okay, he's a cop. He fucked up the police department.
Yeah. I mean, Eric made, and I've known Eric for over 30 years. Eric made a lot of bad decisions. I love him to death. He made a lot of bad decisions in dealing with his police department. And
if he makes bad decisions about the police department, then he's had his chance. I mean, it's like, if you can't do the thing that you're supposed to know what to do, and what I say about Eric, I don't think Eric is corrupt. I just think he was a Brooklyn cop, and how he's running $120 billion city. It's hard. Like it's like, it's not.
No, yeah, it's not.
I don't know how anybody could do it.
But you still have to have the right people around you. And let me tell you, that first crew that he had around him, and I love you, Eric, I love you. That first crew was horrible.
They were horrible.
Yep. And I'm keeping it 100 because I know them. So that first
and how
crew,
were they chosen? How did he choose them?
I don't even know how he chose them. But the sad thing about it is, when he was a cop and ahead of 100 Blacks in law enforcement, those same people wouldn't even stand with him. They wouldn't even stand with him. And I'm like, dude, if they wasn't standing with you back then, why are you having them around you now?
What I'm saying is, you politicians should focus on the issues that matter to the voters, like, and it's especially if you have a municipal job, right? You're working for the city. You're the mayor of Mount Vernon. Okay, you're the mayor of Mount Vernon. I like Sean. I think she's got real talent. You do the stuff that's your job. Like if don't talk about. Don't say I'm going to be an expert on. I have the answer for Israel. Well, nobody has the answer for Israel. It's been a problem for 1,500 years, and you have Jamal Bowman talking about Israel, and you're like, Jamal.
Well, I want to say one thing.
What about Co-op City?
Right. I want to say one thing about that. So I agree on both sides. The radicals have gone too far on both sides, but there was an argument to be made of like. What we all agree what happened, what Hamas did to set this off was horrific. The lives that were lost and everything in Israel was horrific. But the follow-up, the lives that were lost on the other side, what was a problem is if you defended those lives, and you have a right to, because again, your tax dollars collectively of all the state, your tax dollars are being sent over to Israel over and over. So it's like you're co-signing this action. You understand what I'm saying? So people whose tax dollars were complaining that, like, we got like there's a rap lyric. They got a Tupac. They got money for war, but can't feed the poor. You know what I'm saying? So we're spending all this money on Ukraine.
Whitey's on the moon. Whitey's on the moon.
Right. We're spending all this money on Ukraine. We're spending all this money to Israel, and we can't feed our poor. When we talk about feeding the poor, there's no money now. Like there's no money for that.
I agree with that perspective, AJ. I think you're right.
And then I'm even hearing Black people complaining that all the money that they found for the migrants and all of these things, when Black people and brown people were complaining about circumstances and things that were needed, all this time they were told there's no money. but all of a sudden we found millions of dollars for these migrants. So
no, $7 million just.
So there was money. It just wasn't meant for us. It wasn't. So even some Black people were upset about the whole migrate thing and everything because so that was a universal thing because, again, like I said, we've been told all these times there's no money for this, there's no money for that, but you found millions and millions of dollars for that. So you actually did have the money. So I still say we focus on local issues, and I do believe that both sides are a little extra radical on some of this stuff.
Right.
But I do. And when you have a group like AIPAC who comes in specifically and spends record numbers of dollars just to, you know what I'm saying, to put somebody in more that fits their agenda, you know what I'm saying, and gets out the person who's threatening their agenda.
I think Representative Bowman, I challenged Representative Bowman before the October 7th attack, and I think he had Damon and I are talking tonight because Damon put something up that I really supported, which is like protests should lead to policy. Like
we've been saying that for years. Yes.
Yeah. So if, for example, there's a state commission in New York State on reparations. Total crickets. Nobody's talking about it.
No, because it's just.
But like, why don't we talk about that? Because there's a state commission on it, and
it's just
you got prison reform, which is something we can talk about. And you're right, AJ. Like, it's insulting to. I'm not going to say to the Black community, to the poorer communities,
marginalized communities,
right. Marginalized communities, that you can find $7 million for people from other countries, but you can't find $7 billion for. Well, either you could give it back to the taxpayers. Okay, you could make that argument, or you could put it into school lunches or fix the subways. It's like, how could you do something so stupid? And so I think you have to stay connected to like. It's good to have righteous energy. I've told both of you, I think Jamal Bowman has incredibly righteous energy. You can hear it coming out of him, but we got to connect that to policies that matter to the people in the district.
I've said for years, we've been saying, Damon and I, but I've specifically been saying, all of these people talk about Martin Luther King, the protest and all of those things. But Martin Luther King's always his agenda was changing legislation or creating new legislation. When he was meeting with the president, was it Lyndon Johnson at the time? He was like, you got to give me something. You want me to tell these people to stop rioting and stop protesting and stuff and all that stuff. You got to give me something to go back to them with. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like
a law,
right.
Legislative body. It's called a law.
So you know, and protests are important. Let's not forget that, like, the protests of we got where we are in a lot of things because of protests. And this country was started on a protest. The Boston
over the damn thing.
Yeah, the Boston Tea Party was a big protest.
Allegedly.
Well, yeah. Well,
I have a slightly different theory on why the country was founded that you guys might find interesting.
Right. But I'm saying what we're taught, because, you know, again, how we're educated, we're taught that was the protest against England and all this and all that and everything, and taxation without representation and all that stuff. But my point is, though, that's what you're teaching, that is a protest. So protest is important, but protest by itself is empty. It has to lead to the changing of legislation, the changing of an agenda. And as people, we need to have an agenda. So when there's a protest and they bring us to the table, here's a list of our demands that we need.
What do you guys want? This is what I want. Give me these 3 things, and, you know,
right. You come to a list of 10 things. You're not going to get the 10 things, but you walk out of there with 3 key things and 2 small things or something. It's a victory. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just
So here's a good example, which is we've got the Green New Deal. Well, the Green New Deal just means in Queens or the Bronx that you have to replace your gas boiler, even if it's brand new, with an electric boiler. It's like, it just raises the cost of living. It doesn't really impact the environment. There's other ways that you could, you know, make New York greener, but that's coming from the left. And you're like, it's like, it's just like bullshit. You know,
listen, I guess they don't care about the Green New Deal. They setting Teslas on fire. 4 years ago, everybody was saying,
I gotta get a Tesla.
Buy a Tesla.
Get rid of that Tesla.
The earth. And now they setting them on fire and doing all type of stupid stuff. So that tells me that no, you didn't really care about climate change. If you're protesting and not even going to another electric car, you're going back to a gas guzzling car, which it was the left's idea to move everything electric. So I mean,
and by the way, I'm just gonna jump. We're having a conversation here. Like, I am totally against the idea that you're gonna do anything good by burning down dealerships. This is gonna end badly. It's a bad reflection on the Democratic Party. Someone's gonna get hurt, and then the Republicans will claim another.
Somebody is gonna get hurt sooner or later. And
it's a bad look. It should stop. And the leaders of the Democratic Party should say, we're not going to do this. Let's focus on helping our marginalized communities with legislation.
You know, one of the biggest things is, so the Democratic Party, who benefits and has enjoyed the support of most of the people in the Black community and some of the brown community, has to realize, has to come have a look in the mirror moment on why so many of the people that support them normally did not support them or did not come out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And until you identify that, we're not going to have a change of what we have now. Like, when your core supporters no longer, not all, a large portion of your supporters vote the other way or just don't show up, because there are a lot that did show up too. You know what I'm saying? What is it how did you lose them? What do you have to do to get them back? And a lot of them are the pocketbook issues and the local issues. And if you're out of touch with those things, you're never going to get them back. And you know, like, can they make this? Can they got a small window for checks and balances if they get it together before the midterm elections. I don't know if that's possible.
Listen, let me tell you something.
And if not, then the next election. And I don't know if that's possible. But they're going to have to figure out, why are we losing voters that normally vote for us that one either voted the other way or just did not vote, stayed home, which is almost equivalent of voting the other way, because you don't help the other side.
Well, I'm happy to answer that question.
No, go ahead. Then I want to say something. Go ahead, Marty.
So you guys, we're on a talk show here, and one of my favorite talk show formats is, talk radio, because you're in the traffic all the time, or First Take, Stephen A. Smith. These guys size LeBron better than MJ. I love that stuff. So let's have a conversation here about who's the greatest Democrat of all time. Let's just have that conversation. I have my own opinion, but I want to see. We'll go through it quickly. And you got go back to modern Democrats. You have FDR. You've got Truman. You've got
Kennedy,
Lyndon Johnson, Kennedy, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Obama, Biden. How? Let's start knocking some names off.
We're talking presidents, not.
Well, let's say it's not a president. Even it could be somebody who wasn't a president. I can't think of one in there. You might put Senator Moynihan in there, or you might put. I'm trying to think who else you would put in there. But I would I would say you'd be hard pressed to say it's not Franklin Roosevelt, because Franklin Roosevelt, besides the fact that there was a world war and there was a depression, he was president for 12 years and he was in a wheelchair, and he came up with these programs. He invented the Social Security system. It's 90 years, it's still with us today. He invented unemployment insurance. He invented, a lot of infrastructure. He invented, did all these programs, everything like that. And so if you said, and Lyndon Johnson was kind of a protege of FDR, and Lyndon Johnson would be my second choice.
Someone chimed in and said Congresswoman Barbara Jordan of Texas. That was
she's a great choice. I agree with that. But and she kind of came out of the Lyndon Johnson school. Lyndon Johnson was the guy who created the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act is, one of the best things the Democratic Party did in the last 60 years, 1964, 1965. But it all came from, kind of FDR. You know what? FDR's New Deal didn't have a single giveaway program in it. There's nothing where saying we're going to give these people money, we're going to give these people this. It was all temporary relief.
Didn't they? They gave them money for farms, and then they gave them education on how to do it.
Yeah.
I differ of opinion a little bit, because that is not considered what you just said, like a giveaway. But when these things happen in minority communities of the same stature, they're considered what do they call them? Giveaways or there's another word they use a lot. I forget it. But
entitlements.
Entitlements.
Right.
But they did that then, and some of those things are still in place as well. You know what I'm saying? And some of those things, but they didn't help our communities. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, if you're going to talk about all entitlements and all giveaways, but we don't look at that as a giveaway, but you look at things in the Black community and brown community as giveaways or entitlements. So I just want to make that argument.
I'm trying to answer the question, which is, why are people not voting for the Democratic Party?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I think they've gotten too far away from the New Deal. They've gotten too far away from the thing that the New Deal did. I think was it focused a lot on programs that were good for everybody.
It wasn't good for everybody. It wasn't good for our community. It didn't benefit the great new whatever that deal you're talking about. That didn't benefit a lot of communities of color, brown and Black.
No, I agree with that.
It was the Midwest farmers and all that stuff. It did not benefit.
That's not true. There's a lot of people in the Black community getting Social Security. I mean, that's Social Security.
But I'm saying, is that part of the great new? Is that part of that New Deal?
Yeah, that was part of the FDR New Deal.
Okay, so
and then every day that you go in and out of,
well, you try to get rid of Social Security too. So I mean, they're saying
no, they're not trying to get rid of Social Security. They're trying to, they're not. That's not gonna.
That's not gonna happen.
No, I know.
But my point is that, you know, I think what people want to see from the government is programs that make people's lives better. And the Democrats they're kind of out of ideas. I don't think they're vibrant with ideas that are accessible to like a lot of people. You know, if you're doing it for this, like we're gonna have all the people who want to have a palm tree in their yard. Okay, great, you're gonna get the votes from the palm tree, but like it has to be something that's really simple that people are like, okay, like for example, Obamacare. That's great. You know, more people are gonna, millions of people, like 20 million, 30 million people are gonna have health care. Okay,
I personally benefited.
That's great. So you can say, I got Obamacare. Well, that's a good reason to vote. Now you might, if you're a Republican, you don't like it, but the Democrats can say, we gave you, you know, Obamacare. And that's what's missing, is that it's just like little protests for not little causes, but like they have like 40 different things that they want instead of 2 or 3 things. They need to get focused and say, you know, we want Obamacare, we want more health care for the people. Okay, great. But instead they were talking about, you know, causes that weren't popular.
Well, you know, unfortunately, you know, Obamacare, the message, the Republicans control that message, which even poor white people, when you ask them, you know, which would you like, the American Cares Act or Obamacare? And they said the American Cares Act, right? So the Democrats, right? So the Democrats has continued to fail on the message.
And when they have the message gets co-opted. Right.
And I wanted to, what was the sister, Lisa B. We are always under the assumption that the military is the biggest budget. No, it's health and human services.
Right.
Is the biggest budget. Our sickness is the biggest budget for America, and that's why we need to talk more about health and wellness. But as far as the Democrats, here's their problem, in which I've been discussing for a couple of weeks now. They're losing more and more people from these blue states. They're going down south. And I had a white liberal tell me, well, why would you go to Houston or Atlanta? They're racist. And my response to her, do you see how black people are living down there? They're living good.
Yeah.
They're owning homes. They're having businesses. They're not spending to get a starter home $1 million. Right? They're buying a nice house for $250,000. They grow and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Right? So they're losing. These blue states are losing. And what's going to happen by the next census?
Yep.
They're going to lose seats in Congress because of the
Damon, you're hitting the nail on the head. So here's another question.
In this current census, we lost
and they're going to lose. No, and the next session, the next census, they're going to lose even more.
When in the 1950s, New York had 45 congressional seats, and Florida had 6. And now Florida has 27 and New York has 26, and it's just going to keep going that way. But in the interest of time, there's some things that can be done. So, for example, I think let's take the Bronx, which until I ran for Congress, when you're running for Congress, you're in the nooks and the crannies, like you're really in it. And I was shocked at the level of poverty. I mean, I knew it was poor, but one of the problems the Bronx has is that the median income of the Bronx is averaged out. So when you look at the median income of the Bronx, you include Riverdale and you include Pelham and you include Throgsnack and everything. And the median income of the Bronx comes out at, $38,000 or something like that. And so you don't get that's what the benefits that you get. But the reality is the poorest, the most marginal part of the Bronx, I'm not going to call it the South Bronx, but let's just say the South. If you took the South Bronx, and we know by that I mean like not Riverdale. I mean, like the South Bronx.
Right.
I mean, the income's much lower than that. The people that are living on nothing, they're living on nothing. That's like, it might be $25,000 a year or $30,000 a year. And so, but that's when you said, Damon, we've got to look at like what the state can do and what the city can do. We need to be quick on our feet here.
Exactly.
Because if the formulas for what's going into the Bronx are based on, Riverdale, City Island, Pelham Bay, it's not, the money's not getting to the right to the right people. And if they're going to cut it back, you're going to be like, let's cut it back. Maybe these people over here and don't need it so much. But let's get it to the people who need it. And that's what we should be doing. We shouldn't be burning Tesla dealerships. We should be like, let's figure out how to help the people the most.
Exactly.
I want to say two things.
And then they can vote for us because they're going to be like, you changed the definition of median income in the Bronx. Like, and by the way, like AOC could do that. Jamal Bowman could do that, but they're not doing it.
I want to make 2 points. Wait, Damon, I want to make 2 points. So the three items that are the big ticket items for the government, the budget for the Social Security, Medicaid, and the defense, national defense. But the federal, Social Security and Medicaid make up the largest individual funded programs funded. Third is the national defense, the military. And that was one, because I looked up the facts. And two, as someone who lived in Georgia for a while, so two things. One, what you said is true, but that doesn't apply to everybody. While the cost of real estate, it's cheaper to live there, the salaries are also lower there too. So there's a lot of people that are still not living, like there are a lot of Black people that own homes, and a lot of them came from New York, California, Chicago, everywhere else. There are some people in Atlanta, Georgia, that are people there too. But there's a lot of people in some of those Black communities that are not homeowners, and they don't make, like, so the two biggest employers, I've been here 10 years. I've been back 10 years, 11 years going on now. So the two biggest employers were Walmart, Home Depot, and I think like McDonald's. And over 60 or 70% of their employees were on some kind of program, whether it was food stamps or WIC or some kind of income, some kind of rental, money coming for their rent or whatever. Yeah. And that included some of the managers that work for these companies and the assistant managers that work for these companies, because the salaries are way lower too. So I just want to put things in comparison, like the cost of living. So you come from New York and you break your New York salary, you sell your New York, and you go down there with your New York pension, or you're good. You're good. So for people in New York, California, and Chicago and stuff, they live better down south. But there is a but you know what? I just want to say the cost of living is so low there.
But my thing is, if you are a young Black person and you have a master's degree or better, and you're still in New York, you're wasting your money, because see, those type of jobs are in demand in the South. If you have a master's degree or you have a doctor's degree and all that. So now you're up here paying these high prices and high taxes and high insurance and high all that. And you might get maybe $20,000 less on your income, but you're beating the system all around. And that's why a lot of young people who have college degrees are leaving the blue states and they're going south, because they're able to get a starter home. Westchester County, $750,000 to $1 million for a house.
Wait, Damon, then you get to pay property taxes on it every year.
Exactly.
You're just getting started.
Right, and that's insane.
Yeah. And states like Florida don't have state tax, and that's a big thing.
But here's the trick. You can't afford a house, but you're damn near paying the mortgage for rent,
or pay more in rent than you pay a mortgage in some cases.
Exactly. So So that's the crazy thing about it that Democrats have yet to address. And it's like I wrote, there's an exodus of black people out of these blue states. And that's gonna hurt them bad. And let me tell you, and don't think they're going down there and there's just we're gonna turn Texas blue and Georgia blue. That's not happening, bro. That's not happening because they're moving down there because of the laws that those Republican states have been passing with tax deductions for being married, tax deduction if you married, if you hold a house, tax deductions for all that. When we just keep here in New York, we're just getting taxed. It's insane if you own a house in New York.
Right, but or you can't live in the metropolis. You can't live in the urban. You have to live like people have to move up where there's a big difference where you live and what the taxes are down here. But it's still an exodus. Where am I living? I'm living in a Republican county, bro. Right.
David, where do you live?
I live in Middletown.
Oh.
I live in Orange County. So I'm in a Republican county.
No, I agree with you, but I'm saying even not leaving the state, you have to. I'm saying you have to move.
Yeah, but you but now you got to move.
When I'm public advocate, this is why I want to be public advocate. I call this. I think Jumaane Williams is a righteous man. Like he cares a lot about racial equity, but we need to cut the taxes by half in New York City and New York State. We have to cut the taxes in half. Now, we don't have to do it like this guy does with the chainsaw. That's disrespectful, and that's going to cost the Republicans. I think you just got to sit the people down and say, look, here's what we are. Like, we got a problem. We got $120 billion budget that 20 years ago was $40 billion. Everyone's leaving. So let's get a team together.
Yeah, right.
Let's figure out what we can do. I'm not going to say we're going to divide the Bronx into two counties, but let's make sure that we're doing the best we can for the people. But we got to cut the taxes in half, and at the same time, we got to fix the schools. Like you got to fix the schools because you can't. It's not righteous to just have babysitting in schools. You like.
So I have to say something real quick. So, and I'm going to stand by this. So Damon invited Marty to the show, and Marty is a candidate. So I told everyone that we are not talking to no candidates before they make the ballot. So don't call
Marty was a candidate.
Right.
So don't call us and don't watch this show and be like, but you know what I'm saying? Because I actually didn't know you were running for any office either.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know he was running either.
Right, but I want to be clear.
Come on the show. Come on the show, bro.
I want to be clear. He wasn't brought on as a candidate. He was brought on because of an article that Damon wrote that they agreed on that article.
Yes, you got to connect protest to policy.
Right. So I just want to say, I want to repeat again.
If I overstep my bounds tonight, it's just enthusiasm.
You're good. But I want to be clear because there are too many candidates that have my phone number. We're not talking to any candidates until after you make the ballot. We've done that before, and then the candidate don't make the ballot, and we wasted time. We could have been talking about something else. So we're not doing that no more. So I'm standing by that. So do not call me after this show. I'm just because they're not going to call Damon. They're going to call me. So listen. I want to be clear on that.
And go get your petition signed. Get on the ballot.
And full disclosure, because we had
he's running,
on and you're running.
Yeah.
You're running.
Yeah, he's running in New York City.
No. But before, because we had you on, at some point we gotta have Jumaane come back on. Who's a friend of the show? You know so I'm just saying. So we will.
Is Jumaane running or he's running for mayor? What is he doing?
He's running. He's not running for mayor, I don't think.
No, my understanding is that he's
running for re-election.
He's defending. He has one more term.
Yeah, he's running.
Before he term out. Okay.
Because last week he was here. Last week he was here at Centennial. So like he was here at Centennial last week.
Oh well, hey Jumaane, we'll get you on, man. No hard feelings. I didn't know.
I met Jumaane. I think he's a righteous guy.
Right. I want to be clear on all that. So everybody understands our point. So we will give him some time too. but that is what happened here. So do not call me, because if you have not made the ballot, we are not going to extend interview time to you.
I'm sorry if it caused a headache.
And we stand by that. And I want to keep reiterating that, because I'm going to get calls. So I just want to be clear.
Yeah,
but go ahead and finish up what y'all talking about. And we coming to the closing of the show too. Yeah,
we coming to the closing. But listen, man, I've been saying it, and I'm going to continue to say it. The Democrats, they got to get leaders. They got to get leadership. Unfortunately, Bernie's not going to do it. His hypocrisy has been exposed. AOC is not going to do it. Even if AOC runs against Schumer, she's not going to win. Like, that's not going to happen. So, and I don't think she wants to take that L, because she'll lose a lot of political capital if she takes a L. And that's not going to do good. If you think the money AIPAC is going to spend against AOC, the money they spent on Bowman is going to look like chump change. It's going to be insane.
Right. It's not going to go lower. It's going to get worse, because they got away with it. They got away with it once, and they're like, "Oh no, we can't have this." No. Not against Schumer. They're going to
no. Listen, Schumer is the highest ranking Jewish official in America.
Right.
And if you think this district, Rockland County, Westchester County, the Bronx, Brooklyn, right? They in Brooklyn too, right? That's his district. Brooklyn's his district, right?
Schumer's New York State, so it's the whole state.
It's a wrap. Dude, I live on 17. I live off 17. And there is a Jewish community. I swear to God, it's like looking at Manhattan.
Yeah, that's right.
It is rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of buildings. It is.
Damon, you're painting it you're painting it in religious terms. That's right. But I would go back to what you said a little earlier, which is, we're talking about the race for Senate and AOC and all this. I think the Democrats have to come up with politicians and policies that are good for their people.
No, absolutely.
That's who's going to win elections. I don't put it down to the religious thing only.
I put it down as a strategy. I'm talking strategy for them to even come out publicly and even put it out there that she should run against Schumer is stupid. It's really stupid. And people don't understand, those people don't understand the landscape of which AOC is dealing with. Now, I'm not. It ain't about
if you said the words AOC and stupid in the same sentence, I'm just going to say, like, you said that, not me, but I'm not going to disagree with you.
I don't care.
Well, he didn't call her stupid. He said the people trying to put her
the people that are even saying MSNBC, CNN, all them people that's talking about this, they're idiots. They do not know the political landscape that we're dealing with here.
They're just playing ratings. They're getting people to watch their show. That's all.
It's not about religion. It's that they block vote. They do something that black people haven't done in the longest, is they block vote. If that rabbi says, "I got you," they all got you.
Yep.
They all got you. And this is another, that's going to be another lesson for the black community on how we need to use our vote. Not only that, when I talk to Ken Jenkins, hey, look, the husband is a Republican, the wife is a Democrat. They raise money for Republicans, they raise money for Democrats. And it doesn't matter who
raised money for Trump. The husband raised money for Trump. The wife raised money for Latimer.
Yeah, exactly. No matter who gets in, they have a seat at the table. And AJ, and I always use this, the most powerful man in Westchester was who? Dr. Cavallo, because he used the Independence Party to, in some places, he supported Republicans, in some places, he supported Democrats. made him a threat. Made him a threat.
He turned some of them. He was the deciding factor in some of those elections. He was the deciding factor.
So I'm not knocking them because of religion. I'm saying we need to study what they do as black people in using our vote.
You go down to the Millbrook houses, right down there by the Triborough Bridge. You go to, the U.S. Grant houses. You go to James Madison. You go to any one of the projects. They're filled with people who don't vote.
Don't vote.
You're like,
you're not going to get. That's what I said. They have to get in touch with why so many of their voters either voted somewhere else, another party, or stayed home and did not vote. Because they never vote. Yeah, we're not. But I'm not even talking about just those who are not registered. A lot of registered Democrats did not vote in this election. They just did not vote
because they got turned off.
Yeah,
you can't every year. The Hitler, the this.
We got one person right now listening. What he say? I never vote.
And then you can't complain.
No, but I'm just saying we got one right. We got one right there.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you don't vote, you can't complain. You can't complain. You vote for your interests. I don't care what party it is. And I hate to hear people say, "Oh, well, you voted for a third party. They wasn't going to win." No, I voted my interests. I'm not voting for who's going to be the winner. This is why we're in this situation now. And the black communities are twisted all across America because we're not voting our interests.
Right.
And I wanted to say to Marty, so what Damon was saying was not reducing it to race. What the example was that he said exactly was, if you thought AIPAC spent a lot of money on Latimer against Bowman, the money that they will spend for the for a Schumer, who's the highest ranking Jewish, against AOC will be astronomically higher. That was the example. It wasn't about.
I would have assumed that
with the race, but
I would have assumed, AOC was probably probably betting on a Biden presidency, and then she would have had a cabinet position, and then
probably.
But that blew up, and that didn't happen. And she is a political force. She's going to find a way to advance. That's fine. But what the success formula for politicians is do good things for your people. And I think we just got to get back to doing that. And I think that for the people, it's so frustrating that, the people are not organized in their own interest. And you go look at any tall building in New York, there's 500 voters in there, right, and 5 of them vote. And you're like, okay,
So I want to give you a chance, last words as we close out the show. We're a little bit longer than we normally go. I want to, whatever you want to get out there to the people.
Can I talk about my policies, or is that too early in your?
I prefer that you don't. If you want to address like the issues that we were talking about without talking about your candidacy. Right. Then I got to give Jamani. I'm going
to talk about the Democratic Party. I think what the Democratic Party needs to do is accept responsibility for the conditions in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. And they have to accept. I come from a sports background. When you lose, you got to go back and look at the film and figure out what you can do. There's no reason to be burning Teslas and talking about Trump all the time. We got to fix New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA. It might take 8 to 10 years for this to turn around. It
wasn't overnight to get it to where it is. It wasn't overnight in the loss of the voters. The loss
we have to say what we've been doing ain't working. We're going to come back with some better policies and some better leaders. And in the meantime, we're going to defend our people. We're going to look at some things that we can do. But let's not have violence. Let's not kill CEOs. Let's not have burning Teslas. it degrades your political power. It doesn't grow it. So
Well, the CEO wasn't a Democratic thing, because there's a whole bunch of Republicans like that guy too. So
I know, but the Democrats, some of the radical Democrats were like, well, it's, this guy, they deserve it. And you're like, no, like, let's not have violence. Violence is off the table.
Violence on either side, because like I said, it's too radical on both sides. There's both
Let's
sides.
take violence off the table. Let's accept that, we lost this game. Why did we lose? What can we do to fix it? And go back to the drawing board and just get back to work. And that's kind of my message for everybody.
That's the same message we've been preaching. They're going to have to have a moment in the mirror with themselves, and you have to figure out, because so many voters from those states that you named that are strong Democratic strongholds, some of them voted against that, and some of them stayed home. And I'm just talking about registered voters. We're not even talking about all the ones not registered. Right. Your diehard registered voters that you normally count on didn't all ride with you this time. So why didn't they ride with you? Then let's talk about expanding the voter pool. You know what I'm saying? But you need to get back to your diehards that left you. You know what I'm saying?
No, you have to, in a presidential election, you have to come to the middle. It's the independent votes that makes the presidential election. And if they're not gonna, look, nobody would have never told me when Biden beat Trump that Trump was going to come back and win the unions. I would have never believed it. I would have never believed that he would have won working class people. They have left everything that they stood for. And here's the part. I come from a political culture where no matter what party was in charge, you worked across the aisle to get your agenda done.
Yep.
See, what they have done is they have cemented this craziness in people's heads that even working with the Republicans, it sets off people, just like they did Schumer. So you're going to tell me you was going to let 900,000 people get laid off? That's what you're going to tell me you was going to do? And that's what they was willing to do. So everything that you stood for as Republicans, when you said what you said, you threw everything out of the window. Democrats,
as Democrats, right.
As Democrats, you threw it all out of the window. And the sad thing about it, they didn't care because they stuck on this beat Trump, this beat Elon Musk. And they're endorsing violence. Tesla is an American company. I don't care what you say. It employs American workers.
Yep.
And then you got Tim Walz, his ignorant ass, up there on stage talking about the stock is going down when his own state was investing in Tesla. So you're cheering for your own pension plan to lose money. How ignorant? Where are we going with this? Where are we going with it? It has to stop because they're going to lose. They are totally going to lose. And then when you bring it up, you become Uncle Tom. You become this. You become that.
They're acting like little babies.
And we're gonna let that be the last word. Okay. Go ahead, David. And that's gonna be the last word. We're gonna be out.
Yeah, because I gotta promote these shows coming up.
All right, but I'm gonna sign out. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you. Hey, listen, we just gotta really, really, really. The Democrats got some. They have to have some come to Jesus moments.
Well, that's what we've been saying that the whole show.
Exactly. So this is insane. This is insane. So check us out tomorrow. Elevation Nation with Tasha Young. She'll be on.
Yes.
And then that's from
and I guess is what, Tamika, right? Is that Tamika's on guest tomorrow?
No, Tamika's coming on Mondays. That's
on your show. Okay.
Yeah. And then at 8 p.m. we're gonna talk about Protect the Bag, Build Wealth with Insurance with Tamika Cunningham, TR Insurance Agency. And then Tuesday, we got Balling on the Budget I'm going to be talking about a Baccarat grand soiree clone, and Wellness Wednesdays. I'm going to be talking about how on Wellness Wednesdays is very important because we're going to be discussing the testosterone has been dropping in our children. And we have to really pay attention because that's going to have effect on our sperm count, healthy sperm. And on the other side, with the women eating this processed foods, it affects your womb too. So we're going to have that conversation on Wednesdays and motivational Thursdays. And on Friday, it's the morning tea where I give a recap of all the craziness that's going on in the stratosphere. And that's it. AJ?
That's it, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. This has been another episode of Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. Thank you for all that tuned in, especially all you new viewers. We are on every Sunday from 6 to 8, simulcasting live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram, and wherever else they allow us to broadcast live next. Because they keep adding platforms and stuff.
And I meant to say, what's crazy is YouTube beat out the Nielsen ratings of all the channels. It's the number one. It's the number one place people watch.
Right, because you can watch all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah. So the landscape is changing, y'all. The landscape is changing. All right.
So, if you're watching this on YouTube, especially y'all who are new, make sure you subscribe so you know we're coming on. Make sure you like, you share, leave comments, and all that. And also, go to Damon's channel, Damon K. Jones YouTube channel, and go to
all that's on Black Westchester. All my stuff's on Black Westchester.
Mr. AJ Woodson, go to mine too. So with that said, we out till next week. Peace.
This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents The People Before Politics show, the news with the Black point of view.